It was the silence that gave it away, not the words, not the arguments, not even the cold glances. It was the quiet that came in waves after her mom left our house that night. My wife, Erin, just stood there, arms folded, eyes fixed on nothing. And I stood in the kitchen doorway, holding a coffee I wasn't going to drink. Something in her had changed, and I knew exactly when it started. 2 months ago, her mom started visiting more. At first, it was casual, a few dinners, a bottle of wine, gossip about neighbors. But soon, she came every week, uninvited, letting herself in with the spare key. She'd plant herself on the couch like she owned the place, commenting on how Erin looked tired, or how our house didn't feel warm. She'd say things like, "Marriage is supposed to bring peace, not stress, honey." And Erin would nod, laugh, but I could see her shift. Like a wall was going up, one I wasn't allowed to see behind. At first, I thought I was overreacting. Her mom never liked me, not from the start. I was a mechanic. She wanted Erin to marry a man with a corner office. Not someone with oil under his nails and second-hand boots. But Erin had always said, "Screw what she wants, I married you." And that used to mean something. Until it didn't anymore. The first real crack came on my birthday. She forgot. Or at least she pretended to. She left early that morning, said she had errands. I waited all day, cooked dinner myself. When she came home, her hair was curled, perfume on her neck, heels in her hand. She kissed my cheek like I was a stranger. Said she was exhausted, and went to bed before I could ask anything. But I knew. I knew because she wasn't wearing the earrings I got her. I knew because her smile didn't reach her eyes. And I knew because I saw the message on her phone 2 nights later. She left it unlocked beside me on the bed. A message from a guy named Caleb. Short. Stupid. But enough. Last night was worth it. I miss your laugh already. I should have left, right then. But I didn't. Because love does something to a man. It blinds you, humbles you, breaks you down to something smaller than your pride. And I loved her, more than I loved myself. So I kept quiet. Let it boil in my chest. Let the truth poison me from the inside. But I smiled. I cooked breakfast the next morning. Kissed her forehead while she scrolled through her phone. And died a little when she smiled back like nothing happened. Then her mom started getting bolder. She'd whisper to Erin in the hallway when they thought I wasn't listening. She'd leave brochures for condos downtown. One time I walked into the guest room and found Erin crying. When I asked what was wrong, she just said, "It's nothing, I just feel stuck." And her mom, behind her, said, "It's okay to want more out of life, sweetie." They were building a new version of her. One that didn't need me. One that thought independence meant walking away from the one person who'd never let her down. I started noticing patterns. Her moods would shift depending on when she talked to her mom. We'd have a decent day, go out for coffee, laugh, hold hands. Then she'd step outside to take a call from her mother and come back cold. I asked her once, "What does she say to you?" She shrugged. "She just worries about me." Worries. That's what she called it. But one night, I overheard it all. I was in the garage, fixing the mower. The window above the sink was cracked open. Her mom's voice cut through the air like a knife. "You're wasting your life, Erin, you don't owe him anything. You could be living downtown, taking real vacations, not watching NASCAR in a living room with plastic blinds." And Erin, she didn't argue. She just said, "I know, Mom. I know." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake beside her, watching her chest rise and fall, wondering how many pieces of herself she'd already given away. And how many were still mine. The thing is, I never told anyone. Not about Caleb, not about her mom's manipulation. Because part of me was ashamed. Ashamed I wasn't enough. Ashamed I stayed. Ashamed I still wanted her even as she drifted away like smoke through my fingers. But secrets don't stay buried forever. They rot you from the inside. And one day, they come crawling to the surface whether you're ready or not. That day came when I found the envelope. hidden behind the cereal boxes. It was thin, formal. From a law office in the city. My name typed clean across the front. I opened it. Divorce papers, and signed but prepared. The date on the draft. The week after my birthday. Right after Caleb. I stood in that kitchen. Letter in one hand. Bowl of cereal in the other. And all I could think was, she planned it. She really planned it. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I wasn't done watching the pieces move. I needed to know. Was it really her mom? Or was Erin just looking for an excuse? I started paying attention more closely. To her words, her phone calls, her silences. You learn a lot when you stop talking and start watching. And what I saw broke me more than the cheating ever did. It was the way she looked over her shoulder before smiling at me. The way her fingers curled tighter around her phone when I walked into the room. The sudden, practiced way she laughed when her mom called. Like she was performing something for someone else, not me, not even herself. I wasn't looking at my wife anymore. I was looking at the version her mother approved of. The one with rehearsed lines and measured affection. We'd sit at dinner. I'd ask her how her day was. She'd say, fine. I'd ask what she wanted to do this weekend. She'd say, I don't know. But then the phone would ring, her mom again. And she'd walk out of the room, into the hallway, her voice suddenly alive. No, Mom, I haven't said anything yet, no, not yet. I'm trying to time it right. That one stopped me cold. She was waiting for the right time. To end us. I thought maybe if I reminded her of what we used to have, it could change something. So one Saturday morning, I got up early. Made her favorite pancakes with the blueberries on top. Lit a candle even though it was daylight. And I played our song, the one we danced to at our wedding. That dumb acoustic cover she made me slow dance to in our backyard under the string lights. When she walked in, I smiled like nothing was wrong. Just said. Thought we could have breakfast like we used to. She stood there, looked around like she didn't recognize the place. Then she sat down. And for the first 10 minutes, it felt real again. She even laughed, the real kind. Until her phone buzzed. I saw the name light up, Caleb. She flipped it over quickly. Too quickly. And I knew I'd lost her again. That night, I went through her purse. I'm not proud of it. But when you live in shadows, you start acting like someone else. I found the same envelope, the divorce papers, but now there was a sticky note attached. In her handwriting. Ask Mom about the condo on 8th. I sat down on the couch and just stared at that note. The betrayal wasn't loud, it didn't scream. It whispered. It whispered all the times she kissed me while plotting her escape. All the nights she laid beside me while planning a life without me. And all the mornings she said, I love you, with fingers crossed behind her back. The next day, I confronted her, not with anger, not with yelling. Just quiet truth. Do you want to leave me? She blinked, caught off guard. What? Do you want to leave? I asked again. Her face turned pale. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out at first. Then she said it. Soft and almost like she didn't want to believe herself. I don't know. That hurt more than a yes. Because I don't know meant she was halfway gone. I stood up, walked over to her. Held her shoulders gently. What happened to us, Erin? When did you stop loving me? Her eyes filled with tears. And for a second, I thought she'd finally fall apart and tell me everything. About Caleb, about her mom, about what she wanted and didn't want anymore. But she just whispered. Mom says love shouldn't feel like sacrifice. And I almost laughed. Because love is sacrifice. That's what makes it love. She didn't cry, not really. She just wiped her eyes like it was a cold wind bothering her and walked away. That night, she slept on the couch. Didn't say why, didn't explain. She just grabbed her pillow and walked out like it was routine. I stayed up. Opened a beer I didn't want. And thought about the Caleb message again. Why hadn't I brought it up? Why hadn't I screamed, thrown things, demanded the truth? Because I wasn't sure I could survive hearing her admit it. Because deep down, I still thought maybe she'd choose us. Even after all this. The next day, her mom came by again. Unannounced, as always. She walked into the house like she paid the mortgage. Saw me in the living room and gave me that look. The one that said she was never afraid of me. She sat down across from me like it was a negotiation table and smiled. She's filing soon. Just like that. No emotion. No build-up. It's for the best, she added. I didn't move, didn't blink. Just asked. Does she even want to, or is it just what you want? She laughed softly. She finally understands she deserves more. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't about Erin's happiness. It was about control. Her mother wasn't saving her daughter. She was crafting her, molding her into a second version of herself. A woman who saw love as weakness and comfort as failure. I stood up. Walked past her without saying a word. Went straight into the bedroom and opened Erin's closet. There, behind her coats, I found a shoebox. The same one she used to keep our old letters in. Inside now. Bank statements, apartment listings, and a picture of her and Caleb. At a bar. His arm around her. Her lips on his cheek. Dated 2 days after my birthday. She didn't just cheat. She celebrated it. I walked out of the room. Handed the photo to her mother. Her expression didn't change much. Just a small sigh. She needed comfort, she said. And I laughed. I actually laughed. A bitter, broken sound that echoed too loudly in our too quiet house. So you helped her ruin her marriage because you thought I wasn't enough. She stood up slowly. Looked me dead in the eyes. Because I knew you were too weak to leave her yourself. That was it. That was the moment I realized none of this was about love or happiness. It was a game. A manipulation passed down like a legacy. And I was the fool who thought loyalty would win the war. But I still had one card left. My silence. My secret. The one thing I'd buried so deep I almost forgot it was there. Because what Erin didn't know was that I hadn't just seen that one message from Caleb. I'd seen them all. Weeks worth of them. The hotel booking, the secret phone she thought I didn't find. The messages between her mother and Caleb. Yes. They knew each other. That was the twist no one saw coming. Her mother introduced them. And that changed everything. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even lie down. I just sat at the kitchen table with my hands folded in front of me. Staring at that photo of Erin and Caleb. Not because it hurt, though it did. But because I saw the puppet strings in it. His smile, her mother's fingerprints all over the whole thing. And Erin, she just looked lost. Not happy, not even guilty. Just lost. By morning, I'd made a decision. No more silence. No more waiting to be left behind. I was going to confront the queen herself. But not with anger. With truth. With the kind of truth that strips everything down to the bone. I called her just before 9 a.m. She answered like she was expecting me. Morning, she said casually. Like she didn't help destroy my marriage. You busy? I asked. Not particularly. Why? You and I need to talk. Just you and me. No Erin. There was a pause. I could hear her measuring my tone. All right. My place or yours? Here. 10 minutes. She showed up in 8. Of course she did. She walked in, heels clicking against the hardwood like they were meant to intimidate. Sat at the table without being asked. Folded her arms and gave me that smug smile again. So, she said. I slid my phone across the table. Opened to a screenshot. She glanced down. Her eyes flickered, but her face didn't move. Not yet. Text from Caleb to you, isn't it? I said. Her lips tightened, just a little. He needed advice, she answered flatly. Advice. Or instructions. She didn't speak. So I scrolled to the next message. The one where Caleb wrote. Thanks for connecting me with Erin. She's everything you said she'd be. Still no response from her. But now her jaw was clenched. I leaned in slowly. You didn't just encourage her to leave me. You helped her cheat. You arranged it. Silence. And then she smiled. Not kindly, not warmly. The kind of smile that made me feel cold all over. She deserved a man who sees her, she said. You worshipped her, and in time she hated that. She wanted someone who challenged her. Someone bold. I laughed, bitter and dry. So you handed her to a man who calls you for advice like a child? Better a child than a coward, she snapped back. There it was. Her real voice, finally. Not the cool mask she wore around friends and neighbors. But the venom underneath. You think being quiet made you noble? That swallowing betrayal made you strong, she hissed. It made you pathetic. I stood up slowly. Walked around the table until I stood right beside her. I knew she cheated. On my birthday. She blinked at that. Didn't expect it. I saw it hit her. That I hadn't just discovered it now, I'd carried it. You've known this whole time, she asked. Every text, every lie, every shift in her eyes, I said. But I didn't leave her, because I loved her more than my own pain. She scoffed. That's not love. That's weakness. No, I said calmly. That's strength you'll never understand. She stood now too. Grabbed her purse like the conversation was over. So what, you want me to back off now? Apologize? No, I said. I want you to know I see you for what you are. And now, Erin will too. She paused mid-step. You wouldn't dare. Try me. And then, as if fate had set the timing, the front door opened. Erin walked in, grocery bags in her arms. She stopped cold when she saw us standing like statues in the middle of the room. What's going on? She asked. Her mom turned around quickly, voice syrup-sweet. Nothing, sweetheart, just. Tell her, I interrupted. Erin looked at me, confused. Tell her what? I walked over, took her hand, gently pulled her to the table. Showed her the phone, the messages. Every thread of the web they thought I'd never see. Her eyes moved fast. One screenshot after another. And I watched the color drain from her face. Her breathing got shallow, her mouth parted slightly like she wanted to speak but forgot how. She looked up at her mom. You introduced me to Caleb. Her mom didn't deny it. Just said. You weren't happy. I gave you an option. Erin stepped back like she'd been slapped. You gave me a way to destroy my marriage, she whispered. You pushed me. You made me question everything. Her mom tried to recover. He was weak, Erin. I couldn't stand to watch you fade into nothing. You didn't care what I wanted, Erin cut in. You never have. You wanted control. You wanted me to live your second chance. It was the first time I'd ever heard her say anything like that. Her voice broke, but her spine didn't. She looked between the two of us, her husband and her mother. And she was crumbling, trying to figure out which betrayal hurt more. She turned to me slowly. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't flinch. Because I hoped you'd come back on your own. I hoped I didn't need to remind you who we were. She stared at me for what felt like an hour. Then whispered. I don't know who I am anymore. I walked to the door, opened it. Looked her mom dead in the eyes. Leave. And don't come back. She didn't argue. Just stared at Erin like she was disappointed in her. Then walked out, heels clicking again. This time not strong, just loud and fake. I closed the door and stood there in silence. Erin sank to the floor. Pulled her knees to her chest. And cried, not delicate tears, but the ugly, real kind. The sound of someone who finally saw the monster in the mirror wasn't her husband. But the woman who raised her. I sat beside her, didn't touch her. Just sat. After a long while, she asked. Do you still love me? I didn't answer. Because love wasn't the question anymore. The question was whether we could survive what love had become. We sat there on the living room floor like strangers who used to be lovers. Her back against the couch, eyes red. Mine against the wall, hands in my lap. And between us, a silence louder than any fight we'd ever had. She didn't cry anymore, not really. Now she just stared at the floor. Like if she looked at me, the whole thing would crack open again. And maybe it would. Because I wasn't sure what I'd say. Or if I'd even be able to say it without breaking down. I didn't know what I was doing, she whispered eventually. I looked at her. Not angry, not cold. Just tired. You did, I said gently. Maybe not all of it, but you knew enough to stop. She didn't argue. She just nodded, once, slow and hollow. Like someone accepting a sentence. I thought Caleb was freedom, she said after a while. He wasn't. He was just a window I thought I wanted to jump through. I let the words hang in the air. She wasn't defending herself anymore. She was digging through the rubble. Trying to understand who she was when she made that choice. And whether that person still lived inside her. Did you love him? I asked. Not because I wanted to punish her. But because I needed the truth. Even if it shattered what little hope I had left. She looked at me. Eyes trembling like her voice. No. I don't think I ever did. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Because love isn't the only reason people betray. Sometimes it's weakness, confusion. Or the worst one. Loneliness. Do you love me? I asked. Her lips parted. But she hesitated too long. And silence answered for her. She reached out like she wanted to take my hand. Then pulled back. I did. Maybe I still do, she said softly. But I broke something. I don't know how to fix it. I closed my eyes. And for a moment, I saw our wedding day. The way she laughed when the wind caught her veil. How tightly she gripped my fingers during our vows. How I thought we were unbreakable. We weren't. We were just two people who promised each other forever. Without knowing what it would cost. You didn't just cheat, Aaron, I said, my voice low. You let your mother turn you into someone I couldn't recognize. She flinched. But she didn't argue. Because deep down, she knew it was true. Her mother had always been a storm in disguise. Pretty skies above, destruction below. And Aaron. She'd always wanted to make her proud, even if it meant losing herself. I kept it all inside, I said. The texts, the whispers, the gut feelings, because I thought love meant forgiveness before confession. She looked away. Tears welled again. But she held them back this time. Maybe because she knew they wouldn't change anything anymore. So what now? She finally asked. I shrugged slowly. I don't know, I admitted. I don't know if I can trust you again. I don't even know if I can trust myself. She nodded. Didn't beg, didn't plead. Just sat there like someone waiting for a verdict she already knew was coming. The next few days were a blur. She stayed in the guest room. We moved around the house like ghosts. Polite, quiet, empty. She started cooking again. Like that would fix something. I'd come home to pasta or grilled chicken. Set on the table with a napkin folded neatly beside it. She'd ask, "How was your day?" And I'd lie. "Fine." And we'd eat in silence. Forks scraping against plates. Heart still too bruised to speak. One night, I came home late. Work had dragged, and honestly, I didn't want to come back. When I walked in, I heard her voice. Soft, almost broken. She was on the phone, with her mother. I stood in the hallway and listened. Not because I wanted to spy. But because I needed to know what side she was on now. "No, Mom," she was saying. "I'm not coming back to you. You don't get to win this." Pause. Her voice wavered. "I chose to hurt him, but you helped me do it. You used me. And I let you." Another pause. Then. "Don't call me for a while." Click. Silence. I stepped into the living room. She turned around, startled. You heard that? She asked. I nodded. She looked ashamed. But I saw something new in her eyes. Resolve, maybe. Or the first flicker of becoming someone she used to be. Someone before the lies. I'm sorry, she said again. Not just with her words this time. But her whole body. Her posture, her eyes, her breath. I sat down across from her. Sorry isn't a reset button, I said. It's just a door. And I don't know if I'm ready to walk through it. She nodded. Didn't push. Then I'll wait, she said. And if you don't come through, I'll understand. And I believed her. Because for once, she wasn't trying to be forgiven. She was just trying to be honest. It was something. Small, but real. And that's where we stayed. Two broken people in a house full of memories. Trying to decide if the past was worth the fight for a future. But then something happened that neither of us expected. A letter. Handwritten. Dropped through the mail slot with no return address. The handwriting was messy, almost rushed. I opened it while Aaron was at work. Only 3 lines. Caleb's gone. He left town. Said it got too real. I thought you should know. M. I read it twice. Then a third time. Because something about that signature didn't sit right. M. It wasn't from Caleb. It wasn't from her mom either, she would never be that cryptic. But someone knew. Someone was watching. And someone wanted to stir the pot again. And just like that. The past wasn't done with us. Not yet. The envelope sat on the kitchen table for hours. Wide open like a wound. The letter folded, edges trembling just slightly in the fan's breeze. I must have read it 20 times. Still couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. Not fear exactly, more like something watching me from a shadow I hadn't noticed before. Caleb's gone. I thought you should know. But it wasn't the message that rattled me. It was the signature. M. Short, cold, anonymous. And yet, oddly intimate. Whoever wrote this knew things they shouldn't. They knew Aaron cheated. They knew who with. They knew enough to mail me a warning. When Aaron got home from work that evening, I didn't show her the letter right away. Instead, I studied her. The way she moved. Tired but quieter now, more present. The past few days had softened her in ways I hadn't expected. Like she was done pretending, to herself, to me, to the world. Hey, she said, dropping her keys in the bowl. Want tea or something? No, I'm good, I said quickly, voice a little too tense. She noticed, paused mid-step. You okay? Yeah, I lied, then immediately regretted it. No. I mean. I got a letter. She froze. Turned slowly toward me. From who? I slid it across the table. Watched her eyes dart over the words. Her face drained. What does that mean? She whispered. That Caleb's gone. It means someone's been keeping tabs on this, I said, my voice low. On us. Someone who knew. Someone who still knows. She sat down hard in the kitchen chair. Her fingers clutching the letter like it might dissolve in her grip. My mom. Too cryptic, I said, shaking my head. Besides, she wouldn't warn me. She'd celebrate. Her jaw clenched. And I could see it, that flicker of fear. Not fear of Caleb or her mom. But fear that her secret life was still alive somewhere. Still pulsing in the dark. What if, she hesitated. What if it's someone from his life? Maybe he told someone. Maybe they felt guilty. Then why now? I asked. Why after all this time? Neither of us had an answer. So we sat there. Trapped in a house that suddenly felt less like home. And more like a trap full of old ghosts. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head. Aaron's distant behavior months ago. The coldness that crept into our bed like frost on a window. The lies that piled up in the corners of our lives like dust. And this letter. This stupid, quiet, powerful letter. Written by someone who knew enough to break everything again. I got up. Poured a glass of water. Sat at the kitchen table in the dark. And that's when it hit me. M. It wasn't a name. It was an initial. One I'd seen before. In texts, in emails, in deleted messages. I got up, went to the office, pulled out my old laptop. The one I hadn't used in months. I powered it on. Started digging through old backup folders. Names, file trails, app syncs. Until I found it. A cloud backup Erin had set up years ago. And there it was. A conversation, not complete, but enough to recognize a pattern. A contact, Mira. My stomach dropped. Because Mira wasn't some stranger. She was Erin's coworker. Someone I had met, twice. The second time at our anniversary dinner 2 years ago. Friendly, quiet. Too quiet, now that I think back. The kind of person who watched everything and said nothing. But Erin had stopped working there a year ago. So why would Mira still care? I printed the messages. Took them to Erin the next morning. Dropped them on the table while she was sipping coffee. Tell me who Mira is to you. She looked at the printouts. Her face went pale. Then she sighed. She was a friend. Kind of. Kind of. She looked ashamed. She was there when I started spiraling. She never told me to cheat, but she never stopped me either. She knew everything. I stared at her. Trying to remember if I'd ever even really seen this woman. And you think she sent this? She was always in love with drama, Erin muttered. She liked knowing secrets. Made her feel powerful. But why now? That question hung between us like smoke. Until my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no name, just a text. Now you know the truth. The rest is your move. M. I showed it to Erin. She flinched. She's playing with us. Or warning us, I said. Either way, she's not done. That night, we decided something that felt strange and fragile. We needed to confront Mira, together. Not just for answers. But to end whatever this was. Because we couldn't rebuild anything with shadows still hanging over us. We drove to her apartment the next evening. A quiet building on the east side of town. Erin was shaking beside me. I was too. But I wouldn't admit it out loud. We knocked. Waited. When Mira opened the door, her face didn't show surprise. I was wondering when you'd come. She stepped aside. Let us in without a word. Like she'd been expecting the ending to this story all along. Her apartment was minimal, too clean, too perfect. No dust, no clutter. Like a stage set instead of a life. She poured herself tea, offered us none. Sat down across from us and smiled. So, she said. Ready to ask the real questions. Why? I said. Why send that letter? Why stir things up? She tilted her head. Because I watched you two destroy each other in silence. I figured someone should say something out loud. Erin leaned forward. You don't get to be the voice of morality now. You encouraged me. You watched me fall apart and said nothing. Mira smiled coldly. You wanted permission to be reckless. I gave you silence. That's all. I clenched my fists. So what's this, then? Revenge. A game. She shrugged. Call it closure. For who? For me. For her. For you. Erin stood up, shaking. We're not your story, Mira. No, Mira said quietly, but I was part of yours. And I'm done watching from the back row. We left without another word. As we got in the car, Erin broke down. I didn't know how much damage I was causing, she sobbed. Not just to you, but to everyone around me. I looked at her. Took her hand. It's not over yet, I said. But if we're going to survive this, we need to burn every leftover lie. And for the first time in a long time. She didn't argue. She just nodded. And I think she meant it. We didn't talk much the day after we confronted Mira. It wasn't silence out of anger or coldness. It was something quieter, the kind of silence that comes after a storm. Like the air's too heavy to breathe. Like the walls themselves are waiting to see what you'll do next. Erin slept on the couch that night. Not because I asked her to. But because she needed space from herself. And maybe, from the version of her that had made all those choices. I heard her crying sometime after midnight. Not loud, not performative. Just a quiet grief. Like someone finally mourning the person they used to be. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling. Thinking about love. How it's never the grand gestures that keep people together. It's the thousands of small ones. The way she used to warm my coffee mug in the morning. The way I'd always leave her car keys on the hook she liked. The little things that slowly stopped. Until we were strangers who remembered how to kiss. But forgot how to care. By morning, she was already up. Her eyes puffy, but her back straighter. She handed me a cup of coffee without saying a word. Sat down across from me like we were at the beginning of something. Not the end. I don't want to lie anymore, she said suddenly. Her voice barely above a whisper. I just nodded. Because I didn't know what to say to that. Not yet. She slid an envelope across the table. Again. My heart dropped. What is this? The rest, she said. Everything I never told you. The stuff I deleted. The full truth. I printed it. I hesitated. Fingers hovering over the flap. But I didn't open it. Not right away. Because I realized something. I didn't want to read it. Not because I didn't care. But because I already knew what it said. And reading it wouldn't change the past. Only poison the present. No, I said quietly. Pushing it back to her. If you want to tell me something, tell me. Don't write it down and walk away. She looked stunned. Then swallowed hard. Okay. There was a pause, long, brutal. And then she started. It wasn't just once. My stomach clenched. But I didn't interrupt. She had more. There were, 3 times. Over about 2 weeks. I ended it. I felt disgusting. But I lied to you about everything. I even lied to myself. I told myself you didn't notice. That you wouldn't care if you ever found out. I exhaled, slowly. Trying to stay grounded. But it hurt. Hurt more than I thought it would. Even though I'd already known. Because hearing it in her voice, it made it real in a way silence never could. I hated myself every time I came home, she whispered. Not just because I cheated, but because you were still kind. You still loved me. And I didn't think I deserved it. My voice was quiet when I finally spoke. Why him? She looked down. He listened. He said what I wanted to hear. He made me feel like I still mattered. I was spiraling, and he didn't pull me out. He just held my hand while I sank. I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't see the villain I'd painted in my head. I saw a broken woman. Human. Flawed. Terrified. But there was something else in her eyes that morning. Something different. Not regret. Not sadness. Something heavier. Like a second truth was still buried under the first. There's more, I said. She nodded. Of course there was. She stood up, walked over to her purse. Pulled out a folded photo. Black and white. Fuzzy. But unmistakable. I'm pregnant. The world spun. Not violently, not like in movies. But slowly. Like gravity shifted just a little and nothing felt straight anymore. Is it mine? I asked, instantly regretting how cold it sounded. She didn't flinch. She expected it. Yes, she said, firmly. I got the test. Dates line up. I didn't want to tell you until I was sure. I sat down hard. Ran a hand through my hair. My heart was racing and my head was full of noise. But underneath all of it, I felt something strange. Not joy. Not fear. But a flicker of hope. Like maybe, just maybe, this broken mess we'd become could still bloom into something better. Do you want this? I asked. She knelt down beside me. Eyes wide and clear for the first time in months. I want us. The real us. Not the perfect version. The messy one. The one that still fights for each other. And I believed her. Because I saw the fight in her now. The same one I'd been holding on to. Alone. We made a decision that afternoon. Not to forget. But to rebuild, brick by brick. With everything in the open. No more lies. No more hiding. No more letters in envelopes. Just two people holding on to the only thing they had left, each other. We started therapy. Separate and together. We talked to my sister, told her everything. She cried, then hugged us both. Told Erin she was mad. But also proud. Because owning your darkness is harder than running from it. Erin's mother, of course, didn't take the news well. When we told her about the baby. She rolled her eyes and said, "You think a baby fixes things? It just ties you to your mistakes." But for once, Erin didn't flinch. She stood tall and said, "This baby is not a mistake. And neither is my decision to stay." It was the first time I saw her win against her mother. And maybe, the first time she saw it too. There were still hard days. Nights where I lay awake wondering what could have been if none of this had happened. But those nights got fewer. And the mornings felt a little warmer. Like we were slowly learning how to live in the aftermath. Not as victims. But as survivors. And then, just as things began to calm. Another letter arrived. Same handwriting. Same envelope. But this one said only 4 words. You still don't know. The letter sat on the table for 2 days. Unopened. Untouched. Like it burned through the wood. But I couldn't bring myself to open it. Not right away. Because I had finally started breathing again. And this letter felt like smoke crawling back into my lungs. Erin saw it. Of course she did. She walked by it every time she made coffee. Didn't say a word. But I caught her glancing at it. Once, twice, 10 times. Her hands would tremble when she held her mug. And that silence between us. It returned. Only this time. It wasn't protective, it was suspicious. Heavy. On the 3rd night. After we put the letter back on the shelf for the 5th time. I finally said it. You know what's in it, don't you? Her face paled. Eyes wide like I'd cracked something open in her. No, she whispered, too quickly. And that's how I knew. She was lying. Again. I picked it up. Held it for a moment. It was thinner than the last one. Just 1 page. But somehow it felt heavier. I opened it. Hands shaking. And read. Asterisk, you still don't know what she did to you. You forgave her too soon. She knew you'd find out. She planned it that way. Asterisk. No signature. No details. Just that. A puzzle with no edge. A blade with no handle. I looked up at Erin. She was crying already. Tears running silently down her face like her body had given up on defending her. And I just stood there. Frozen. Because deep inside, I knew. This wasn't some stranger stirring the pot. This was truth. Truth she'd buried deeper than the cheating. Deeper than the therapy. Deeper than us. Tell me, I said. My voice flat. Now. She sat down. Didn't ask to delay. Didn't deny. Because it was over, the wall was crumbling. And whatever she was hiding, she was too tired to hold it anymore. The day you found the messages, she began. You think that was an accident? You think I forgot to log out? No. I left it open. My stomach dropped. I didn't breathe. She went on. I knew you were distant. I knew something was wrong. I was scared. I didn't know how to talk to you. I thought, if you found out, we'd either blow up or you'd finally see me again. So you let me find it. She nodded. Yes. I wanted you to find it. I didn't plan it all, but I didn't stop it either. I thought it would break the silence. That maybe you'd fight for me. Or leave, and I'd stop feeling so damn guilty. I staggered back. The weight of it hit harder than I expected. I could forgive mistakes. Even betrayal. But manipulation. That was something else. You used your own guilt to punish me, I whispered. She sobbed. I didn't mean to. But you did, I said. And I hated how calm I sounded. Because inside, I was drowning. It all made sense now. Why the letters stopped after that night. Why her mother went quiet. Why things felt just a little too scripted. Even her breaking down. Her confessions. It was all real. But some of it had been nudged. Orchestrated. She wanted me to find the truth. But only on her terms. In her timeline. So she wouldn't have to be the villain. She'd let me discover it. So I could choose to forgive. But she never really gave me a choice. She guided me toward it. Like a game with only one ending. And I played my part like a fool. And the letters? I asked. Your mother. She hesitated. Then said. The first one, about the affair, that wasn't from her. It was from me. I wrote it. I mailed it. I didn't know how to say it out loud. I stared at her. My mind trying to glue everything together. But it kept breaking apart. You sent a letter to your own husband, anonymously, to confess. She nodded. And the second one, the one about her manipulating me, that was her. She saw what I was doing. She knew I was unraveling. So she tried to rip us apart before I could. So it was both of them. Erin and her mother. Fighting a quiet war for control. Using me like a pawn between them. And the last letter. Whoever wrote it. Maybe it was someone else entirely. Or maybe Erin herself. Trying to confess without confessing. One last time. I stood up. My hands trembling. My chest tight. You didn't trust me enough to just talk. You trusted me enough to love you, raise a child with you, but not enough to just tell me the truth. She was sobbing now. I was scared, okay. I didn't think I deserved someone like you. I still don't. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Because what do you say when the person you love finally admits they've been lying from the very beginning? Not just once. But in layers. Over and over. Until you can't remember what was ever real. I packed a bag. Just one. I didn't slam doors or shout. I just needed air. I told her I was going to my sister's for a few days. That I needed space to think. To feel. To decide. She didn't argue. Didn't beg. She just cried. And whispered. I still love you. And I said the only thing I could. I know. But love doesn't fix everything. I stayed with my sister for 4 days. Didn't tell her the full story, just enough. She didn't ask for more. Just gave me space. Let me breathe again. I stared out her window one morning and thought. What do I want? Do I want to punish Erin? To leave her and start over? To burn it all down? And the truth was, no. I didn't want any of that. Because despite everything, I still loved her. Not blindly. Not like before. But with clear eyes and a cracked heart. When I came back, she was sitting on the steps outside our house. Holding her belly. Looking up at the sky like it might forgive her first. She stood when she saw me. Didn't run. Didn't speak. Just waited. I walked up to her. Heart pounding. I looked her in the eye and said. We're going to start over. But this time, no lies. Not one. Not ever again. She nodded. I promise. And somehow, that was enough to take the first step. Not toward the perfect ending, but toward an honest one. And maybe, just maybe, that's the only kind worth fighting for.